similar colors, as we just need a lot of colors. And holding down left click and going off, you can select the color again. You can start filling up. And this is colors here. Because if we take a look at the reference, it's the same material. Just has more rust, that's all. And that's not really working, that color fill. Not sure why we cannot fill this stuff. Just gonna reopen and overwrite, restart my Zbrush. So to fix that, we need to go to flat color and fill that material with a flat color. So if we go to flat or any other material, we can go here and we can select the actual color. Now if we fill that up, it will be the same. Let's change it. So that's working up. Let's just those pieces left. So I think we can give this one the same color as this one. And then this one should be like its own little material. That one's pretty similar to the stitches. Also, if you do have to put similar colors, try to get similar colors, not too close to each other. Can also help a lot. So that's the ID for this one. Now we do need to follow the same ID colors for everything in the same baking group. So it's all going to be the same texture set. I'm going to start off with filling that material. Start with this one. Fill object. Also let's do an outer groups and fill object. This one can all be the same. This one can have a different one. I think that's too similar to the color it's next to. So I'm going to go with quite a different color. And let's go with a different one for this one as well. But this one's less important as it's going to be its own object, so it will be easy to select. And that's how we can set up ID colors. So that's one done. Oh, also, let's give this one a color. Let's go with the same as that one. Now when you have all the ID colors set up, you can also really quickly check for intersections. So that's like a nice little feature as well. As having a different color pop out is going to be very, very noticeable. Let's go to the mask next. So now we don't need any worry about matching the ladder colors in here, whatever, because it's a new texture. So we can start off fresh. fill this all up. Get rid of material. Put on RGB. So usually when I make an ID map, I just like to start off with the biggest piece, so this will be the most important piece. Also, let's fix this. That's something that needs to be subdivided. Not sure what that even is, to be honest. Let's split. And let's subdivide a few times. I have no idea how this came to 60 million, what the heck. I think... Ah, makes sense. Go back a little bit. Let's delete this one. Let's do outer groups first. And I'll split and subdivide a few times. And merge it down. So that's looking more normal. I think we kind of messed that piece up. It should be more like a flap instead of a rounded thing. I don't think it's... I'm gonna change that, I think. Split again. Let's go to geometry, reconstruct. So this is important, you don't want to overcommit to stuff that we made. We're still at the stage where we can go in and we can get rid of some mistakes that we made. So I'm going to put this in Maya. Import. Get rid of the thickness. Let's see. I think this should extend further. Oops. Something more like this, maybe. Jump further. I hate when it does that. Maybe like this. A little bit less, maybe. Now let's extrude. Move this piece back like this. Some extra detail. I'll take one, kind of make a flap. And let's try this. And add thickness. That looks more like it should be. Seeing how I want to put it. I don't want to have any gap. It's gonna make the retop a hell. I'll leave that. Yeah, but I'll fake it. In the bake. Right, we need some gaps here, I think. I'm gonna fake it in the bake. Maybe a little bit less thickness. Something like that. Looks okay. Now looking at this, we made this area a little bit too big. It should be more like this, but I'm not gonna move everything. I think it's fine like this. Can go ahead and try to even the space out a little bit with this thingy. I don't think that works. Maybe if we do from top. Like that. Let's go with this. Apply. And merge down. So it's important if you make any small mistakes that you can still fix them at this point, as it's not too much work yet. Let's do the ID map now. Let's start off here, the outer groups. Let's go with that red to start off with. Selecting here. We like double mesh. 42. Let's like delete hidden. I think it's just that one. Double. Again, by setting up the ID map, you can also find a lot of mistakes in the high, like technical mistakes like overlapping objects and intersections and having a double mesh. That's all good to get out of the way. I'm gonna unhide that one. Just upwards as well. And the object. Just unhide every. Let's keep that one hidden for now. It's quite distracting. This can be a little bit annoying doing the stitches with the out groups. And I know this is quite a boring task to do, to set up the ID map, but it's this very important. For the texture stage, you cannot really texture without it, unless you want to make your life a living hell. Just something that we should try to avoid. Go with like an orangey for this one. Oh, that's annoying. One thing that we can try to do is to merge similar groups. To try to get some merged. Doesn't really work. Just gonna go solo. We can start to hide all the other groups. And do Ctrl W to make that one group, so we can easily select it later if we need to. So it's like a yellow, light pink. Also want to give this one a different material. I have no idea what that is. Let's see. It's just put them together, doesn't really matter. And although this should be the same material in the textures, just by having this to be a different color, we can, let's say, we can select this now and we can darken that to add a little bit more depth to it. And you can see right here we have an intersection, which becomes very obvious now that we have the colors. That's nice. And these little things, that will be its own object. It's a little bit less important what color we give them, so we can just select them with the object select one. So I'm not gonna spend too much time worrying about that. We can also just select it like this with all fill up. So to fix this, we can try to do a group similar. That's pretty much gonna group them all together, which is nice. So we should auto group this. Not sure why the auto group's being a little bit weird here. That's okay. I think that's all. You can see this looks a little bit funny. I like to kind of look at the ID colors. See if I missed anything. I think that's all looking alright. So let's move to the final piece. I'm gonna start off with the smaller pieces this time. Because it will just be a little bit more manageable. So outer groups and then make similar groups. I'll make these the same color, I think. We can easily select the other one if we want to by going to the this grayed out again. I don't know why. By going to material selection, object selection. Just fills out with a flat color. So that's one thing that I forgot on the other ones that we did. We should have like an edge with a different color. So it should be like this. This way we can maybe take the edge and add some extra noise or whatever. We can mess around with it in other ways. Let's go back a little bit to the mask. Yeah. That's kind of annoying. Makes a mess now. Just want to split that off. The same here. We really need to push that stitch in. Go ahead and push those stitches in first before we forget. Actually, that's fine now. Although that's strange. Right, let's move through these. So let's reconstruct this as many times as you can. I'm gonna just group these together. Some strange stuff going on here. Not sure why this one's not showing live for me. Let's take a select lasso. That rough edge, so we can easily select it later on and paint it. Now let's merge that down again. That's a bit excessive, we don't actually need that one. let's get the same green color, I feel. So now we can easily select the edges of this to mess around with it. And that's a lot easier than trying to paint like a mask for the edges. We can just take it from the actual topology, which is great. That looks alright. So up to the annoying part, which is gonna be this. Just gonna fill it all up with the color of the ladder. We already decided that over here. Fill object. And you could do this as well before you merge everything together. It might be a little bit faster to work with. But I think this is a little bit more like clear to show you the workflow. Because we're now just doing it step by step instead of mixing multiple steps together. But this way it will take a little bit longer. That's not necessarily too bad. Doesn't have too much impact. So you can see we're taking all those edges and giving them the same color. Show us something here. Instead of trying to mask it, we can just go into like solo mode. Draw the groups. I'm not sure why that's not selecting properly. Maybe it's because we have symmetry. Nope. I think we might have a double mesh, that's why. Let's first save. Let's overwrite. You can see we have a double mesh there. That's just because we duplicated a group instead of a subtool, which is really annoying, which we then all put together. I'm going to delete hidden. Now we can just select it. See, same here. Which is good, now we can get a little bit of that poly count as well. So that's nice. Not over enough in it. So that's not seem to be double, so select well. And I can see that little intersection becomes pretty visible. Push that in. I think that's almost about everything except for the stitches, which are gonna be a pain. So I think the easiest way to do the stitches will be just to hide everything. Then we can just fill it all up. Another way to do this a little bit better, when you merge everything together, you want to be sure that you already have everything, like all the poly groups set up well. That can save you a lot of time. like all this, it should all be one polygroup. I shouldn't have to go out and in, and all the stitches should have been one polygroup when we merged. So now first thing I want to do is Ctrl W to merge them all together. So we can easily select them at a later point. Let's fill. Then these stitches are from another leather type, so I'm gonna give those a different color. So we can change the tone on them. So Ctrl W. I can select them. Go ahead and simplify this one. You messed it up. I think we're all done. We'll make one more safe. The next step will be to decimate this so we can get this inside Maya to read to open. And check for some sections maybe in there. Seems to be fine. Gotta put a little bit of work in here. See, we started not seeing that view. So one last time overwrite. So before we get to decimating, let's do some final touch-ups like this thingy here. Let's go ahead and polish that. Just make that a little bit nicer. I think that's about all that needed some extra fixing. And I think we can work a little bit on that line. Let's make this a little bit straighter. A few little marks in there. Let's try polishing this. Let's also do the other one. I'm gonna add a little bit of damage here. I'm gonna overwrite this. And let's get to decimating. Let's go hit the save manager. Let's go for retop. Let's mess with the name a little bit. So on this one, let's start off with the bubbles. And the first thing I like to do is make a duplicate. And then just dynamesh it. You can see here whenever we have a hole, it's gonna mess up a little bit. out a little bit. It's okay if it doesn't perfectly follow the actual high. I'm gonna delete those small stitches because we don't need that detail in the low. I'm gonna keep this in to maybe add some height. Let's vanish. I want to be careful, try to avoid any holes like that. Now we can re-project. And one polish. Let's not polish. That's good. I'm gonna fix some polish like that. Now that everything's one object, you want to be careful with stuff like this, like with holes. It's just really gonna be a thing. And if you're getting holes, it means that we didn't prepare the mesh well enough. So here it should be closer. Just gonna go back a little bit and fix some of this stuff. See, that's quite that job. We should have been doing this with symmetry. This was actually symmetrical. That's okay. Do the same again. I want like this outline to be as even thickness as I can, so we have a nice consistent shape. I think that it's pretty okay. Make sure it's not intersecting here. I think this will work a little bit better than what we had before. Do a new save as. Do that for bake first. Should get rid of this one. Now let's do save as for recall. We fix this here. And yeah. Then little issues like this, you can come in here, just fix with the inflate. Like that, easy to retop. I think we should clean up this mess a little bit actually. See, we don't need all that thickness happening. So I want to be careful that I actually mask it. Make sure we don't have 1,000 overlapping objects. This will be a lot better to work with. Sure, we can fill that gap. It's working. Let's check that we don't have any intersections. And let's duplicate again. I can see this is gonna be a little bit easier to retop. Because we're not gonna add like thickness in here, it should be like nice and flat. This doesn't look pretty, but it's the back side, we'll not see it. So before we save this as for retop, just gonna go ahead and do this kind of like everywhere. Just make sure that we don't keep going back and forth, but then mesh for resolution. This one be a ping, so topology problem here. Just gonna ignore it for now. So let's take this one. Let's see if we can fix this. Import. This should be going to a spot here. Glass. Let the mess it up. Not sure what happened here. We can kind of hack our way through it. Just going over it. It's not really perfect, but that's okay. I think that's good enough. Export this. Get rid of this. And import. That's some subdivisions. I'll merge this down again. So you can see how stuff sometimes breaks when you work in Zbrush. And then we can just fix it really quickly before we get to actually taking stuff down and all that just by getting all that nicely fixed before, it's gonna save a lot of struggle later on. So I want to get this one a little bit cleaner actually. It's a little bit more nice. Now the goggles are all fine to proceed to the retop. I'm gonna save for big. Is that right? Seems a little nice. So this one is a little bit less cleaner. And some weird stuff. That's because it's single-sided. Delete this. Duplicate. Get rid of stitches. Okay, duplicate this one time. Delete hidden. Hidden. After this one we want to add some. Not actually working this. Nice subdiv here. So that's a pain. We merged the wrong subdiv. And delete this. Let's see how we will fix this. Load the tool. So we can load the latest one that wasn't for a bake, because we didn't merge it together yet. Now we just take this and copy. Go here. That's why I'm a big fan of working with multiple versions. Because you can never really mess up that you accidentally like delete something or bake something down that you shouldn't have. Please color. And we can double check. Not sure what's not fitting here. Thanks, because we have a layer. Like to see those a little bit nicer. Too much anything else. Let's duplicate this one again. Get rid of everything except for this part. Let's add some things. Doing a very poor job. Maybe try features maybe. Makes that a little bit better. Doesn't need to be perfect. Should be -100. Let's try applying this. Let's merge down. Now if we measure it, I think it should be a little bit better. Now you can see it doesn't mess up. Zoom safe. Just bake. Let's go to this one. This one's going to be pretty much possible to mess up, I guess. Let us stitch a little one there. It should be here. Now I should merge this again. To start off, I need this below. Let's export. So now that we have that out, we can delete. Don't have any other those to worry about. Let's duplicate this one, then mesh. And the last one. That all looks fine. So now let's do the last part helmet. So let's get all the locals out. this locally, great. We can delete that. I think those are all the local polys that we have. Actually, we have a few more, yeah. Now I can see that we already have some. The local poly done. Because the way we should do this one is we should edit the low poly a bit. Now that all makes sense, let's start dynameshing. Okay, I'm just gonna get rid of this. We don't really need that. Now do the very last one. So I'm gonna get rid of all the stitches. See some stuff which doesn't look right. Now let's dynamesh. And setting up all this stuff took quite a bit of time, because we have a lot of layers and subtools. But it's worth it. You kind of have to, because you need to make this all. You see that dynamesh isn't going well. That's something that's thickness. This should be these pieces. Let's make it. Actually, not yet. Delete. And I didn't add like the backside on these pieces to avoid a higher poly count. I think next time I might do that. And then mask off the subdivision, so we don't have to deal with not dynameshing well at the end. So now by just having a little bit of thickness, this should dynamesh well. We need to add some thickness to this piece as well. I think I'll also piece add thickness. So that looks fine with thickness. Except for those, but I don't think those will mess up. You can see that dynameshes a lot better. We do have the problem of the thickness though. Didn't make it thick enough, and that's making us end up with a lot of holes. I'll do it one time. So this time we know which pieces we need. Now we can make a duplicate and delete hidden, invert, and delete hidden. And make a copy so we can go back to this if we need to. And minus 100. I'm gonna do it as thick without intersections that I can get. It's about that, starts intersecting. I think that should be fine. Let's give this a try. Apply. How much now? Let's try. Go get rid of stitches. Now you can see we don't get any little holes and everything's dynameshing fine. So I'm happy that we run into these little issues. So I can show you also how to fix them, which is nice. So let's delete the stitches. Now we're going to final dynamesh. And save this one as for ID, not for Re-topology. Then we'll save as do this one for big. Let's get rid of this one. Delete all. And for for the big one, we don't need the Dynameshes, only the original ones. We can get rid of every old one. I'll show you the Dynamesh one. That's all. It's gonna hide everything. Color colors. This is our final 4-big CTL. So let's override. Those also look really similar. That's a selection mesh, so I'm not worried too much about it. So the issue here, we can fix it locally. So let's do local. Let's do 4-big. Let's run off. So this one I meant. For Beetle. Now we're gonna get rid of all the ones that are not Dynameshed. This should be all the first ones. You don't necessarily need to have Dynameshed pieces. But I think Re-tops are a lot nicer when everything's one solid piece, Dynameshed. Now let's override this one. I noticed a little mistake with 4-big, so let's open up that again. That was missing body paint. I would take these stitches. I want them to have a different color from the other ones. So this way we can make them match the color of this a little bit better. We can select them, which means they're probably double. So they are, let's check this one. Nothing's getting deleted, so that means they're double. Let's also fix this over here. And let's overwrite again. Should be fixing it a little bit more. Something here. That's split hidden. Let's go ahead and rebuild this. So reconstruct. So we can add a different color to the edges. See when that happened. It's always been there. Try to fix this as well a little bit. So let's go ahead and smooth this out a little bit. That looks a little bit better. Do you think if we compare this to the other rough edges, this one's a little bit bigger, but it's okay. In the reference, it's a little bit bigger. I think this time we didn't forget anything, so that's safe. And again, we don't have to fix this in the decimated version, as the poly paint doesn't matter. I'm just going to delete all here. Let's start with the goggles again. So now we need to get a reasonable number for Maya. Just open up Maya. Let's go to Decimation and pre-process. Actually starts stitches, but that's okay. A little bit of a hole here, but nothing to worry about. So now we can put it to something like 2% and decimate current. Take a look at the active points, that's really low, so we can get this in Maya. Just try to get as low as you can without actually losing any shape of the features that you have. I'm gonna create a new scene and import. You can see this imports without issue and it's all fast. I'm gonna make a new one, call this bake group. Let's call this goggles. That's a new one. So 2 new groups. Let's call this one helmet. And this one mask. Now let's make a new one called high. It's gonna be 0, 1. Now we're just gonna repeat this process for all of the pieces that we have. Make sure to keep all the naming nice so it's easy to work with, especially if other artists need to enter your scene. So like I said, let's do it for all the pieces that we have. I'm just gonna pause the video and do it for all the pieces because it's all the same. We pre-process and decimate and get into Maya with the correct name. So now that we imported all the decimated objects into Maya, let's go to Zbrush. Let's do an override. First, let's fix the settings a little bit of the scene. I put this all the way up to like 85. And this one. And the aliasing. See the difference, and it's quite big. Let's get started. Set up some layers first. So the first layers I like to set up with select all these highs. Call this high. Let's give this like a black wireframe as well. I can set up some new ones. So this is going to be helmet. We should actually call this layer. Because you cannot have two matching names in Maya. And put the high all the way at the top. So let me record it. That's fine. So now we can work a little bit easy hiding stuff. And let's make one more. Great. Layer. So red cube. So this below. And put this everywhere. Try to keep like consistency in your naming. If you do capitalized at one place, put it everywhere. And for this one we should add mask below. This is just so we can use it with export scripts if we want to. I'll show you a little bit later how that works. We don't need to do it for the high because we're never gonna export that. Then this one is called the low layer. And I used to jump right into retop, but nowadays I prefer to set everything up properly before I get anything started. So I'm gonna open up the preferred software of Bake, which is Marmoset for me. I'm just gonna make a nice looking scene with this column, like this. I'm gonna make a bake group. First one should be helmet, just like in Zbrush, right? We have the helmet, goggles and mask. We need to do 3 of them. Let's put this one at the top, so we keep the same consistency of labeling. Now in Maya I want to go to the script editor and delete all. I'm just going to select helmet low. File export. Now Marmoset, let's create a new folder called meshes. And do a new one called low. Let's call this one helmet low. We want to keep the groups on and the other ones, the materials off, smoothing and normals on. Let's do that. Now just drag this here, put that smell, edit, call this 01, export, call it whatever you think is easy for you. And we're gonna repeat this, so we can either edit this or we can redo it. But the easiest is just to redo it because we don't have too many, so it's okay. So just clear everything, goggles low, file, export selection. And make sure there's no autosave in between. So file, export selection, and call this goggles, low, and export. And let's do one more. Call this mess, low. Actually, let's also now do this to unselect everything. Gonna just copy this line of code, edit, just paste it here. That's okay. I'm giving these very specific names, like 01, 02, and that's so we can reuse the buttons for other ones, for like new exports that we're gonna do with new assets. And then we don't need to create a new button all the time. Then we can just do edit and change the command and save preference. So we just press those buttons and we go to that folder. We can check the time and we can see that's all updating right. So now we never need to worry about selecting stuff and file export and blah blah. We just set it up once, takes a few minutes, and then we can really easily work in between Marmoset and Maya. Of course, we don't actually have anything in here yet. So what we can do is we can just kind of test it with the high, so to make sure everything's working. So let's take the goggles, because that's the one with the least pieces. Also reordering this. Let's see if everything's working correctly. And export the second one. So import. Just equals low. Okay, take 0, 1. So actually I kind of messed up the baking groups. We should have multiple bake projects. So we can use this one as the goggles. Then we have 0, 1. And over here we have 0, 2. Then we put the 0, 1 low here. Then this one here. Let's set up all these settings correctly. So Marmoset, new bakes. Let's call this test. I'm gonna be baking this. Call this goggles. Put that 16. Let's put that 4K. We just need normal map for now. So now let's take this one, copy and paste. So duplicate. Let's call this one helmet. And put this one above. Then we go to Zbrush, we see how many we need, so we need 4. Let's go 0, 3, 0, 4. We need one more. It's going to be the mask. So duplicate, call this mask. I think this one had 3. So we can just delete 1. Make sure it's all empty. Except for goggles, that one should actually be filled. Make safe. Call this bake. Pilot, helmet, bake, Let's see if this is working correctly. So now if we take one of these lows, go ahead and hide the high. Let's see if that's updating well. Now if you can, as you can see, it's updating well. One thing that's important is that you don't get rid of this empty one, because it's using like a duplicate, I think. Nope, it's not updating well. So actually mess that script stuff up. The way we need to set this up is go to Maya. Let's see, so we have 4 here, we have 3 here. So let's set this up a little bit different. Now I want to set this up in a way that we can reuse this for multiple projects. Let's delete those, because it's a little bit of a hassle to set it up. So I'm gonna take the helmet, for example. And I'm gonna take, let's go with 10. That's a bit excessive, I never use 10. Let's go with 5. So now we're just gonna group those. Let's call this 01 or A901, A02, A03, A04, A05. So the A just stands for, hey, this is the first bake group that we're going to be working with. Then the 01 stands for the actual object that's going to be in there. But I want to put everything in a group instead of calling the object that name. So then the name of the object doesn't really matter. This way it's going to be way more reusable. So now all that we have to do is go to script editor. Let's empty everything. And all I'm going to do is hit A01. I'm going to file export selection. Let's create a new folder. Nah, we don't need a new folder. Let's call this one A_01 low. Point groups, materials off. Can put groups off as well now. Smoothing on and normals on, and export. Now we can take this. We don't need the other ones. Also, let's do that one. Then I'm just going to use a script editor, Sublime. We can copy that, go to Sublime, paste this. We don't need this, this is just the result. And then we need this one. That should be all that we need to export. So we can give this a try. Now we can do a script editor, paste this, put it here, let's call this A. This is stand for the group. And let's see if everything works correctly. So if we delete this, should export a new one, you can see that's working. If we open it, we have a cube, because that's in the group itself, it's a cube. But now you might think, oh, now we need to do this for all these, which is gonna be a pain in the ass, which you're correct, that we a pain. So instead of doing it for all of these, we can just go here and just put like a little space. I'm gonna do 5 of them. Now we can just edit these numbers. So that's the first line of code altered for all of them. Then we have this huge thing, and doesn't really matter. All that we need to change is the number here. That one should be kept on 1 though. So you can see how fast we can change like scripts if we do it in an actual editor. One thing that we don't actually need is this select C1. We just need it once at the end. Now if we drag this here, actually copy, edit, and paste. And now if we press this, it should export all of the groups. So we can test it, hitting A, go to a folder, and now you can see that we have all our objects, which is great. Let's get rid of these. So now what we need to do is we need to go to a script editor. So I decided to change the script a little bit. This is just gonna make it a little bit more reusable. So now all that we have to do, if we have 4 groups in the first one. So A is how I name it, and then I have 4 groups. So let's say if I want to call this helmet stat, we can do that by changing the naming to helmet. So let's go with helmet instead. Then we have 4 groups. So then we do need to change these names to helmet. And we have 4, so we can leave that. Now finally we need to take an export location. So you can come up to here, put that in. The only thing that we need to do is change these slashes to the other one. It's a little annoying, but it's the way that the file gets read. Can get rid of that. And then the prefix, you can change it if you want. You shouldn't change the save number to, let's say, underscore low poly or whatever. This is just what's gonna be added to the end. So now if we run this, and we go here, you can see helmet 1 to 4. It's all working correctly. If we take a look at helmet 4, that's 4 cubes as a test. So now we have 4 cubes here. Then helmet 1 has 1 cube. That should be 1 cube. And edit this. And take this. We can put a new one. I'll call this B. And C. And the way the script works is instead of putting it in like hard coded, we now put up variables. And that way, so let's say here the export path will be my string merged. That's the save location first. Then it adds the naming, which is helmet. Then it adds a string save number, so that starts at 1. And every time this script runs, it adds 1 to the number, and then the prefix at the end. And the amount of times it does, it's a loop. And loops it by group, so that's 4 times. But I'll put up the script on the Gumroad and it will be in the download link, so you can just download it and use it and not have to worry about copying it. But I'm just trying to kind of explain how it works. So maybe you can feel comfortable to edit the script a little bit yourself to your liking. And then for B, all that we have to do is change this to goggles. And this one has 2, so we should put in 2. That's all, we don't need to touch anything of this, and we can keep the save location the same. Now for C, we should do mask. And I believe this has 3. That's all, then file, save preference. As well. Remember, use this name here. This one should be goggles _1. This should be goggles _2. So this should be mask _1 and all the way up to 3. And again, it's because the script looks for a mask group. And let's save. And save preferences. So now we got everything set up really nice and clean. And now we can easily work with the export scripts. And you can see we have goggles 1 and helmet and all that stuff. And it's all in here. So now if we go to Marmoset, now it will actually work if we do import, meshes, low, just import all. And start off with a helmet. So put helmet 1 low in the low, 2 in the low, and helmet 3 in the low, and helmet 4 in the low. Now we don't need to worry about this for now, the mask. Now lastly, the goggles. Now we can save this. Now I want to show you, let's say, in helmet. Kind of 4 cubes. So this helmet 4. Just gonna hide the other ones. So here we have helmet 4 with 4 cubes. So now if we go to helmet 4, let's say we delete something in low poly, this is our final low poly object, and let's say we added some extra detail like a bevel and whatever, and we messed around with the UVs. Now all that we have to do to update it is hit A. If we go to Marmoset, you can see that's updated. And this is a really nice, easy way to work because you just mess around a little bit with setting the groups well, and then changing the numbers in the export scripts. And then it's going to be really easy to just go back and forward and change stuff. Instead of going here, let me find the helmet 1 and click here and file, export, hope it's still in the same folder, which it isn't, and then it's going to be a pain to go back and forward. So this makes it really easy and fast. Let's say helmet 1. We also did some changes to this. Let's export. Now helmet 1 is going to have those changes applied. And I know Marmoset also has a feature for not the quick loader. And I'm pretty sure it still doesn't work nicely the way it used to work, and I think it still works the same, is that you export as an FBX and then you have to change all the then you have to have your naming like this, so it will put the groups well. But the problem with that I always run into is that, let's say we want to change a little thing of the high, then you need to re-export the whole FBX for helmet FBX. And that way it will take a lot of time if we have a really high poly count, let's say 30 million here and then 10 million here, another 30 million here. If we just change one of those, you don't want to re-export all. So this is the way I kind of started setting up my bake scenes, and I really like working like this. So I'm just gonna empty this all out. Another thing that we need to do is we need to actually get our high in the Marmoset, of course. So we're gonna open up for bake. And to get all this stuff out, we can go to Z plugin. And there should be something here. Subtle masses. So export visible subtles, what we want to click. I think I need to just recheck. That looks like one. So export, okay, masking show inner points. File format OBJ. Now we just pop. Now we have to select our folder. So we can make a high here. I think now all we do is hit save. This is gonna take quite a long time because it's gonna export everything. So that's finished. Got one kind of issue, not quite sure what that is. So we forgot to merge this down. So we can merge down. Instead of re-exporting everything, just export. That's what I mean, like if we make one little mistake, we only have to export that specific one. We can delete this one. We also don't need pilot helmet for bake, that's the first one. Helmet 01 high. So now that's done, we can go to Marmoset. I think we should be able to select this now. Nah, no, I'm just gonna do it by hand. You can mess around with the quick load and see if you can get it to work. But it's not too important for now, as we don't have too many meshes. So I'm just gonna do it by hand. So now that's all loaded, your Marmoset should be super slow. So we have a lot. I'm just gonna hide everything. That should speed the Marmoset up a bit. Just gonna put this on draft to get as fast as I can. Now we just have to put them in the right folders. But you want to be careful that you don't like put this object out. It should be like the parent that you put in, not the child. So now that we have all that out of the way, now we can finally start our actual re-topology in Maya, now that we have everything set up nicely. I'm gonna save. So now that we have everything set up, and again, you don't need to copy this, you can just go to Gumroad and you can download it over there. We can start the actual retop process. And I'm gonna start off with the helmet, because I think that's the most work. It's gonna determine the resolution a bit. So when we're doing retop, we want to try to make this as easy as we can. This might seem like quite a complex object to retop. But first we can say we can make it symmetrical. So that's gonna take half of the work away already. Then we can start simplifying it. So all that I'm gonna be focused on is getting a retop going like this. We have two planes, and we can say like this. Then we can start adding an extra line. Then over here maybe we can say we make this go until here. Then we continue that. Maybe here we do something like that. And then we start breaking those very big polys up in smaller polys. And then later we can cut in additional details in a low poly. And we can do like a little bevel. So one try to go from a very simple shape to a very complex shape. So to start off we need to make this sticky, a live surface. Then we're gonna put in that very big shape that I showed you. And here you can change all this stuff. You can mess with the alpha and whatever. Change the wireframe color if you want to. This is black though. You can see how we just started off very easy. Now we have that first basic thingy, we can go in here, start editing the edge flow a little bit. Maybe we can add an edge here. Just gonna try to get even squares at this point. It's very important. We're gonna push those points out again. You want to be very low poly on this stage. You do want to be sure that you follow the features, like this edge should all be on the same line. The reason why we're being so low poly is so that we can do a basic retop, then we can do a subdivide, then we can choose a density a little bit. So I'll probably go with a density like this. But start off we should get most of this stuff blocked out, because it's gonna be way easier when we're working with a low poly count. And it's pretty much gonna fill itself in. Make safe. And for something like this we could do like Quadra and try to get it right. It's easy to do create polygon cylinder. And go out of live surface. So something like 8. Again, it's gonna have 2 subdivisions, so it's gonna end up pretty high anyway, so that looks good. Get rid of this. Take some of this out and see how much stuff we're getting. So I think we can use a little bit more. Maybe we can do 12. Can mess up a little bit there. Just delete that. And that looks really nice from around. So now it's all about placing that just right. We should spend some time on this. I'm gonna try to line it up with this edge. And here it's right, but here not, so we can change the pivot to just this point. Then we can start moving this. Hold down the middle mouse. With soft select we can adjust this a little bit. Try to get this as close as you can. Doesn't need to be perfect, but try to get it pretty close on there. And just like that, that looks pretty okay. Gonna bring up another cut. So I'm gonna do this and say shift, right click chamfer. Get it on there. And over here we can start filling it up. You can hit the G key to repeat the last action to bridge. So I'm gonna open up Zbrush. Get a pilot helmet. Now instead of opening the for retop, I'm gonna open up the last version. Let's go to a helmet. Let's get these things. Oh, we did actually move them a little bit. So we should get them from the for bake one. So they're moved a little bit from that point. So I'm just gonna take this piece. I'm not sure if it's completely symmetrical, so I'm just gonna take two, just to be sure. So what we can do is now we can take these pieces. Now we're gonna decimate these. So we can be a little bit more precise about where the features are. Because now we can keep a higher resolution on this, because it doesn't have as much other stuff. Go a little bit lower, to something like 100. and decimate. So now we can keep it really high poly. So we take a look at the difference. This is what we have here. This is just going to be a little bit more precise to work with. I'm going to put this in the high. Let's call this ear, guts or something. Doesn't really matter how you call it. I'm going to hide this. So we can really focus on this piece. You can see I want to get this in here. There's a component. Get all these points just on there. Ignore that for now. So by getting some parts in high resolution, you can really get it re-top perfect. Because again, if we take a look at this, it can be a little bit harder to tell where exactly that point should be. Now it's really clear. That all looks right. Actually, let's go ahead and baffle this. Put chamfer off. Maybe something like that. I guess it doesn't really work. Component. It's okay, we don't need to have it perfectly on there for now. So let's do a quick test where we subdivide. So the way we do that is we need to take these. Let me see if I remember how this works. Mesh. Should add a crease. So we should be going up to Windows, Modeling Editor, Crease Sets. Now we can do a new crease set. Now if we smooth that out, it's going to keep its shape. And if we subdivide that, it's not going to add too much edges to the... It looks a little bad, the topology there. We can just easily delete that like that. I guess deleting still doesn't work well. Now that went well. Now modify this topology a little bit to get a better crease. That's a little more proper. See, now that looks pretty nice. We can up this by doing page up. It's gonna add more subdivisions. Page down to lower it. And here we can mess with the crease strength, so we can increase that to get a tighter one. Doesn't go higher than 2 though, that's because that's all the way tight. And then to get rid of that shading you'd have to subdivide it and then add like a hard edge. And that looks how we'd expect it to look like. So now that we have this set up, we can go here. We can change that to be really on the features. We actually need one more, so I'm going to put an edge here. Then we can take this edge and add it to the crease set. And then just move it up. And we can start editing those individual vertices. Don't worry, re-topologizing hard surface stuff is the part that takes the longest, I guess, and is the most annoying. That's just because my workflow for hard surface is a little bit bad. We should have kept a better low from this and have it better in place. But the way I work is I like to keep a lot of flexibility in Zbrush. I can easily change stuff around, and then I just worry about getting that low later. So that's how we can really get that low. Put this to vertices, axis normal. Here. This can also be a pretty cool way to model hard surface stuff. If you never worked with crease sets, you should definitely give it a try and see how you like it. It's a little bit more complicated, but keeps a lot of flexibility this way. I mostly just used to re-topologize. Now we can also start taking these things that we have here, that we have for low poly. We can put them in helmet 1 low. Can make save. Now if we hide the high for now. So this is our low poly for now. So if we do A, we can go to Marmoset. You can see that everything's working correctly and we get it in Marmoset. One thing to notice is it's very low because we don't actually get that until we apply subdivisions. And also I split the baking a little bit, but just having the helmet in one file and the mask and the goggles in another one, because the file size was getting really big, which makes it a pain to work with. And put that there. And hide the earbuds, we don't need them to be that detailed now. I'm gonna change that topology color of the wireframe. That's a little bit less distracting. It's still pretty visible. One way we can change that is just take the high. We can do select objects. We can do lightning, assign favorite Lambert. And we can call this Gotta select one. For Lambda 2, let's call this high MTL. Now I want to match that color to the wireframe color. So a little bit darker. And open up the material editor. It's a little bit easier to get right. Put this flat lighting as well. Like you can see, we don't really see it. So that's the closest that we can get it. So that's just going to be a little bit more clear for the low poly topology to see if we're in wireframe mode and we have the high unhidden. So now what I need to worry about is that we need to continue this topology outwards to here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to do one extract. And this kinda gonna determine our topology going forward. Let's also open up the crease editor. And let's put a crease here. So add. That's just so it keeps its shape better. Now we just kinda look for stuff that connects well. So I think put it like this maybe, and here we get a pretty good opening, maybe to add an extra one here that flows into this one. And the topology doesn't really matter too much for stuff like this, because you're not gonna have any deforming factors in here, because it's a helmet, it's not gonna deform, so we can be a little bit more relaxed about topology. In the sense that it doesn't need to deform. So now we can search for like stuff that lines up a little bit. So we can put it like this. Then over here you can start to notice that we get like, oh hey, now I can put this on maybe here, this one here, and then we can bridge that thingy later on. Put this one here. If we hide the high, you see that we can now merge these two parts together pretty easily. I'm gonna avoid that yet though. This is also the reason why I don't like doing retop in, like, let's say Topogon, because I like to keep the flexibility of actually going in and modeling retop instead of just drawing it out with little points. I think this is way more effective to model retopology instead of doing it all like Quadron, putting those little points, and you know, it's super slow to do it that way in my opinion. Let's see. Just kind of thinking what we can do. And ignore this whole panel, we can cut that in later. I think we can connect it here. And let's put a triangle to connect that last part here. So you can see, instead of drawing a topology out, taking more of a model approach. Which I think works very well for most cases. Of course we can still go in here, make it live, and then draw it out as well, because that's faster for certain parts. go to sleep like this. No. Yeah. So let's merge everything together. You can see that we already pretty much blocked out this whole thing. Let's bring this. Now let's start connecting these things up. Just gonna average them out. Now you can see we need to add an extra edge here. This one should be dark welded. Now I don't really want to touch that. So now edit the edge flow like that. Set that edge flow. I'm just adding in the edge flow to get a nicer flow for topology. Let's even out the resolution of polys here. So now we have our base ready. I'm gonna get rid of this triangle. It's gonna bring up some weird topology if we subdivide that, probably. So let's try subdividing this and see how it looks. That's looking pretty okay. I don't like that though. I think, how can we do that differently? What is this? That's definitely not the right move. That's what it was. I'm gonna try with a triangle, see how that looks. I think this is the best option that we have for now. Let's check out all the faceting. I messed up the group. And delete the history. That didn't score 1. What we can already do now is we can take a look at the high. Should be pushed out more, but we can use this as a test. Now all we do is say preview. It's gonna give us a horrible looking bake. That's because I forgot to do some quick